Hi, welcome to Wholeheartedly for the Lord Bible Journaling with Sherry. Today's process video will be sermon notes in my traveler's notebook. For those of you who are new to my channel or may have missed some of the other videos, I have switched from using the bigger notebook and switched to a traveler's notebook. It was inspired by Hello Jilski, Jillian. Is it Jillian or Hello Jilski? One of the two. I'm sorry, I think it's Hello Jilski. And I loved her sermon notes into a traveler's notebook. The thing with my struggle is that I write a lot of notes. But since I've been using my iPad and I found a way on Notability, I love that app on my iPad to put the sermon series in their own folders, so to speak. I can go to them at any time and review the notes, review the recordings, as well as annotate the notes and or look at them to journal them in my Bible, so I don't need the bigger notebook to write all of the notes all over again. So now that I have them on my iPad in their own specific places, I decided to downsize and try to put into small nuggets sermon notes into a traveler's notebook, because I do enjoy having them right at hand, in my hand, to look at and to review and things like that. So join me in this process as I'm learning to use a traveler's notebook for sermon notes, and I hope you are blessed by the video, and thank you for watching. And remember, if I can Bible journal, so can you. The sermon series that my pastor has been preaching for the last couple of weeks, this actually is the very first sermon. It was so many notes, I had to figure out a way to downsize it into a traveler's notebook. So there's several pages, but I won't go through all of the notes. And it is from 1 John chapter 1, verse 5, all the way through chapter 2, verse 6. And the title of the series is called Man's Misconceptions. I realize with this sermon series, there's so much to it that I cannot do justice with it just doing my notes like I normally do. Well, going over my notes with you like I normally do. I'm just going to just lift up a few things and then let the process of the video continue, because context is everything for me, and it's hard to understand certain statements if you don't hear the whole context of the actual sermon. So man's conception is really based on the relationship, or the supposed relationship and fellowship that man thinks he has with God. But when you do not consider certain aspects of your relationship with Christ, you are misconceived. So the misconception is that man thinks that he has fellowship with God. He thinks he already worships God. He thinks he's acceptable with God on his own. And I've said this in other videos based on this, that man thinks that he has a relationship with God on his own, and you can't tell him how to worship. You can't tell him that he's not in fellowship with the Lord. But scriptures clearly say that if you do this, this, and this, you're in fellowship with the Lord. This shows that you have a relationship. Even Jesus said that if you love me, you will obey me. So there are certain things that in fruit that manifest itself when you are walking with the Lord. And man objects to many things concerning Christ. He objects to the fact that Christ is the Son of God. He objects to the fact that Christ is the way to God. He rejects the teachings of God. He rejects the fact, or objects to the fact, that his worship is wrong and that he's unacceptable with God if he's still walking in sin. Living in sin, you cannot be in fellowship with God. And sometimes Christians remove the whole sin factor when it comes to our relationship with Christ, but we still do sin. And if you say you don't sin, then you're a liar and the truth is not in you, because we all sin. We all come short of the glory of God. And God still has a problem with sin. That man is also totally and sinfully depraved. He is hell-bound without Christ. And these are the misconceptions. Man thinks that he can get to heaven, he can get to God on his own and on his own terms. There is no fellowship with the Lord. There is no fellowship with Christ when we walk in sin, when we live in sin. And our relationship is intact because we are saved, but God is light, and that's the main thing that stuck out with me in the sermon. God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. And sometimes what I claim to be is wiped out by by the way that I live all week long. And we cannot continue to live in sin and do things and live ungodly and think that we have this relationship with God. And many people are misconceived with that. They think because they preach, or because they're a pastor or a pastor's wife or a deacon or choir members or whatever leadership role we have in church or you have in church, think that wipes out how we live all week long, and it's unacceptable to God. So that is one of the things that really stuck out with me in the sermon. And I just wanted to lift up what he said about God being light. And he said that this is what Chuck Swindoll says: God is all light, zero darkness. He's pure with nothing impure. He's all clean and nothing dirty. He's all right and nothing wrong. He's all true and nothing false. So when I sin by choice. I'm not only human, but I'm born again. I have another nature that's in me that can prevent me from living in sin if I choose to. And he also says that God is light. It's a single term that captures the essence of God's nature. Light is who God is. He is not a source of light, He is light. And that when darkness comes, darkness cannot stand light. So darkness has to dissipate, it has to go away. It's always ready to come in, but as soon as light is around, and we know that naturally, darkness dispels. So if I'm going to live in this light, I have to walk in step with the Lord. And he said that Chuck Swindoll says he walking in the light is walking step by step in the same direction. It's a lifestyle. And that really blessed me, because if God is light, I am a reflection of that light. When he says, when you walk in the light, you see things as God sees things. And what does it mean to walk in the light? It literally means to develop a pattern of behavior. That means that Christ is seen in me. And I want to challenge you that if God is light, and He is, we are reflections of light, to walk in the light, to live in the light, and anything that's dark, confess it, repent of it, and ask God to cleanse you from it. Thank you for watching, and take care.